Chapter 11 Obtaining Demonic Power. It's no big deal. We don't have anything urgent on our end anyway, Rias said with a graceful smile. She showed no intention of blaming Kiba for his tardiness. But this is rare. Yuto's always the most punctual among us, yet today he's the last to arrive. Akano, the black-haired girl with a long ponytail, radiated the elegance of a Yamato. Nadeshiko. Her gentle eyes and warm smile suggested she'd be a perfect wife someday. As Rias's friend and confidant, she was a key member of the Occult Research Club. Yuto-senpai, did something good happen today? Kaneko asked, her expression blank. The petite, silver-haired Nekomata's sharp senses detected something unusual about Kiba. Her Yukai heritage gave her an acute awareness, making her quick to notice his mood. It seems Yuto's in an especially good mood today, Rias observed, glancing at him again. The smile on his face was more pronounced than usual. Ah, Kiba gave a dry laugh, scratching his head. Is it that obvious? Very much so, Akano replied with a playful smile. So, Yuto, what happened before you got here? It's not a big deal, Kiba said, his smile returning. I met a transfer student and showed him around the school. We hit it off and had a good chat. A transfer student? Rias asked, her curiosity piqued. Yeah, Kiba nodded, giving Rias a strange look. He decided against mentioning that the transfer student, Roy Flott, had claimed to have fallen for her friend at first sight. That could wait until the school started. He's from the UK, still sorting out his transfer paperwork. He came early to get familiar with Kuo Academy during the break, but the guards stopped him, so I played guide. Oh, this transfer student must be special to earn Yuto's approval, Akano said, her smile widening. I'd love to meet him sometime. Kiba was a heartthrob at Kuo Academy, adored by girls but often envied by boys. Despite his popularity, he had few close friends outside the Occult Research Club. Hearing he'd connected with a male student and formed a friendship was a relief to the group. All right, enough chatting, Rias said, clapping her hands to refocus them. Let's report on your devil duties over the summer. Leaving Kuo Academy, Roy quickly returned to hotel room. System, activate it. A surge of power erupted within him, wild and untamed at first. It felt like a torrent of energy coursing through his body, expanding and pressing outward as if seeking an escape. For a moment, it seemed it might overwhelm him. But soon, the force settled, the swelling sensation fading. Strangely, Roy didn't feel any different, no alien sensation, no shift in his essence. The power merged with his body as naturally as his own limbs, like the hellfire before. A faint flame flickered to life in Roy's palm, conjured by the demonic power. This feels incredible, Roy murmured, marveling at the ease with which he sustained the flame. I don't feel the strain I felt before. He sensed he could maintain the flame for hours without exhaustion. More than that, his physique had noticeably improved. My strength, stamina, everything's enhanced. So, demonic power feedback, he realized, piecing it together. Demonic power was tied to vitality. A stronger body can sustain more demonic power, as seen in Issei's training after becoming a devil. Conversely, demonic power could enhance the body. Roy's sudden acquisition of demonic power was like pouring potent energy into a fragile vessel. Part of the power had strengthened his physique to accommodate the rest, balancing his body and the power itself. Now, I could probably kill a low-class devil, Roy thought. The hellfire was devastating against weaker opponents. As shown in the anime, its combination of destructive flames and rapid self-healing could outlast stronger foes through endurance. With middle-class demonic power bow lstering his capabilities, Roy felt he could probably take on stronger opponents. Chapter 12 Abandoned Church. Host, Roy Flott. Race, human. Level, 30. Middle class. Replicated ability, Hellfire, C. Replicated items, none. Dimensional points, 5593. The demonic power doesn't show up in the ability or item bar, even though it's clearly boosted my strength. LVL 30, Roy estimated his strength. With demonic power and hellfire inherited from the Phoenix clan, his strength was comparable to someone wielding a sacred gear. At worst, he figured he was somewhere between the peak of a low class and a middle class. Facing Raynor now shouldn't be too dangerous, Roy mused. Raynor, a key antagonist in the story's opening arc, was a minor boss. As a two-winged fallen angel, her strength was formidable. She held a good rank among her kind, commanding 3 other two-winged fallen angel subordinates. Her performance in the anime suggested she surpassed typical two-winged fallen angels, likely matching a middle-class devil. Even against standard middle-class devils, Raynor held an edge. Fallen angels, despite their fall, retained light-based powers, which were especially potent against devils. Light was a devil's bane. But I don't think I need to fear her light-based powers. Though his replicated abilities originated from devils, he remained fundamentally human. The system left his essence unchanged, so the light-based powers targeting devils wouldn't affect him the way they would. To Roy, Raynor's light spears were just another weapon. Then let's head to the church and test my luck, Roy decided. He extinguished the faint flame in his hand, before leaving the hotel room. After taking a taxi, Roy instructed the driver to head to the abandoned church in the suburbs of Kuo Town. I can only stop here, the driver said after about 15 minutes, parking on the roadside. There's a mountain path ahead, and I can't drive up there. He glanced at Roy curiously. That church has been abandoned for ages. What are you doing there? Just sightseeing, checking it out, Roy replied vaguely. It's not a great spot. I've heard stories of weird stuff happening there in the past. If you're just touring, I can suggest better places around Kuo Town, the driver offered enthusiastically. My family's got some religious folks, so skipping the church while I'm in Kuo Town would earn me a lecture back home, Roy said, inventing an excuse with a smile. Want me to wait here? It's tough to get a taxi out here, the driver asked. Wait 30 minutes. If I'm not back by then, you can head off, Roy said, handing over some yen to cover the wait. The driver nodded, happy to oblige. Roy stepped out and started up the mountain path. The route to the church was neglected, covered in dust and fallen leaves, clearly untended. For years, the road looked worn and forgotten. After about 10 minutes, Roy reached the church's entrance. He paused, not entering immediately, and scanned the surroundings, particularly the area around the church gate. It's too clean. Someone's been maintaining this place, Roy noted, his eyes narrowing with heightened caution. Despite the dusty mountain path, the church's immediate surroundings were spotless. The building itself showed no signs of cobwebs or anything. Probably fallen angels, Roy guessed. That unhinged white-haired exorcist, Fried Selzen, was human and would likely leave footprints if he frequented the path. Yet, Roy hadn't spotted any signs of foot traffic on the way up. Fallen angels could fly in and out, bypassing the mountain road entirely and leaving no trace. With his suspicions confirmed, Roy pushed open the church door and stepped inside, hoping to encounter a fallen angel. Empty, he muttered, scanning the vacant church hall. A statue loomed above the altar, flanked by rows of pews for prayer and rest, a standard church layout, just as Roy expected. The interior was pristine, with no dust on the pews or floors. Someone had definitely been here, and recently. Fallen angels wouldn't clean like humans, but a quick burst of a spell could easily keep the place spotless. Let's wait and see, Roy decided. He searched the church, finding only a few black feathers in the basement. With no pressing plans, he didn't mind lingering. If Raynor or her group showed up, the trip would be worth it. Chapter 13 A Stray Devil. As time passed, the sky gradually darkened. TCH, my phone's almost out of battery, Roy muttered, sprawled comfortably on a pew in the church. He'd been glued to his mobile phone for nearly the entire afternoon. Shouldn't fallen angels be nocturnal? Why aren't they resting in the church during the day? Roy grumbled, casting a displeased glance around the empty hall. No one had shown up besides him. His entire afternoon had been wasted, and with his phone down to 20% battery, Roy's patience was wearing thin. The only thing keeping him here this long was the distraction of his phone. Now, with it dying, he had no desire to linger in this dim, abandoned church. What, was he supposed to spend the night here? Roy had no intention of trading a good hotel suite for a hard bench. Next time, I'll set up a surveillance camera. Waiting around like this was clearly a waste of time. If this approach didn't work, he'd try something else. He didn't know magic, but modern technology could serve just as well. A camera might go unnoticed by fallen angels who relied on sensing magic. Even if they found and destroyed it, he'd at least confirm their presence and could rush over. Quickly, Roy stood, ready to leave the now dark church. The mountain path lacked streetlights, forcing him to navigate the descent in near darkness. Fortunately, hellfire came in handy. He conjured a small flame in his hand, its warm glow lighting the way down. After reaching the base of the mountain, he extinguished the flame. Streetlights took over, illuminating the quiet suburban area. Only a few houses had their lights on, and the silence was almost eerie. The taxi driver from earlier, having waited the agreed-upon 30 minutes, was long gone. Roy was alone on the deserted road. "Guess I'll just walk back," Roy sighed, shaking his head. Luckily, the suburbs weren't too far from city center. A 10-minute walk would bring him to bustling streets. Still, the quiet was unnerving. The sparse houses and dense trees lining the road cast deep shadows, making it feel like something could leap out from the woods at any moment. Random task triggered. Random task generating. Random task generated. Please review, host. Roy glanced at the virtual interface before him. Random task. Defeat the stray devil. Task content. A stray devil is stealthily following you. Please defeat it. Reward. 10,000 dimensional points. A stray devil, Roy muttered, half amused, half exasperated at his luck. He hadn't encountered the fallen angels, but now a stray devil had crossed his path. At least the random task gave him a heads up. Where's this stray devil, though? Roy raised his guard. He didn't know its strength. Despite Hellfire's near resilience, he couldn't afford to be reckless. Even Phoenix could be overwhelmed, and he was just a human with a fraction of their power. Roy scanned his surroundings but saw no one. "Come out," he shouted toward the trees. A rustling sound followed, and a massive figure leapt from the woods, landing about 5 meters away. "Bold move, hiding so close to a church," Roy quipped, eyeing the stray devil. He wasn't entirely joking. Churches, even abandoned ones, were places devils instinctively avoided. "Human, you think it's a clever trick too, don't you? They say, the most dangerous place is the safest. I picked the riskiest spot, and no one suspected a thing," the stray devil replied. Its voice. Smug. Its upper body resembled a human's, but its lower half was monstrous, hulking, grotesque, and covered in scales that sent shivers down the spine. Despite its hideous appearance, it spoke with a surprising clearness, lacking the feral madness typical of stray devils. Roy blinked. Okay, then. This thing was oddly articulate. He'd meant his comment as a taunt, but the creature took it as praise. Did it not realize the church was now a fallen angel hideout? Was it begging to be obliterated? "I hid so well. How did a mere human spot me?" the stray devil demanded, as if Roy had ruined its grand scheme. "Just with a little observation," Roy sneered. "Human, you're a clever one. I love eating clever humans the most," the stray devil said, its tone shifting to glee. It eyed Roy hungrily, saliva dripping as if he were a delicacy. "Crack open your skull, eat your brain, and I'll get even smarter. Then I'll outwit those fools." Roy stared. Sigh. This stray devil was definitely not the brightest. Articulate, sure, but its logic was laughably flawed. "No, human, shouldn't you be terrified? Why aren't you afraid of me? Why are you so calm?" the stray devil roared, its demeanor shifting from smug to ferocious. Roy's calmness, unlike the fear it expected from humans, seemed to snap it into a frenzied state, its words a mix of rage and confusion. "You don't seem all that scary," Roy replied with a faint smile. Had he encountered a stray devil right after arriving in this world, Roy would have been petrified. Back then, he was just an ordinary human, defenseless even against the weakest foe. But now, things were different. His strength rivaled a middle class, his only shortfall being a lack of combat experience. That didn't matter much, though. Hellfire gave him an absurdly high margin for error in battle. Fatal wounds for others were mere setbacks for him, allowing him to make mistakes, adapt, and grow stronger mid-fight. "Arg, you're too arrogant, human. I hate cocky guys like you. But I love clever ones." The stray devil's voice oscillated between fury and excitement, its vaguely human face twisting into a monstrous snarl, grotesque and terrifying. Sorry, whether you like me or hate me, I'm not flattered by the attention of something like you. You're so ugly, you're polluting my eyes, Roy said with a chuckle. So, kindly disappear. I've decided. I'll merge you into me, your brain's mine, and the rest can rot. The stray devil cackled, as if struck by genius. I'm so clever. Roy shook his head. This guy definitely had a few screws loose. It lunged first, its massive body stationary as it spewed viscous liquid from its mouth. The substance was worse than concentrated acid, dissolving anything it touched. Disgusting. Don't stray devils have any better tricks? Roy muttered, dodging the liquid with a grimace. He moved swiftly. The liquid splattered onto the ground, melting it into scorched black pits that smoked green, as if burned by fire. Roy glanced at the holes with lingering unease, grateful he'd evaded in time. Hellfire could heal him, but getting hit by that filth was a fate he'd rather avoid. He'd take 10 normal magic attacks over this any day. Stop dodging. The stray devil bellowed, enraged by Roy's evasion. It intensified its assault, spitting liquid like a machine gun. Roy's expression hardened. He activated used hellfire. Flames enveloped him, casting him as a fiery specter in the dark night. With a wave of his hand, a massive blaze erupted, forming a 3-meter flame barrier. The liquid evaporated on contact with it. The stray devil gaped, its eyes wide with disbelief. Impossible. How does a human use Phoenix Clan's signature flames? You're surprisingly knowledgeable, Roy remarked, mildly impressed. But it made sense. The Phoenix Clan, one of the 72 noble devil clans, was renowned across the underworld. Their PR. Ominence soared with the rise of the raiding game, making them widely recognized among devils. HMPH. Human, out of respect for the Phoenix, I'll let you go today. Don't cross me again. The stray devil, despite its usual mental fog, snapped into clarity at the threat to its life. Sensing the odds against it, it turned to flee, tossing out a final taunt. This human wasn't like the others it had devoured. His power was formidable, and continuing the fight could cost the stray devil its life. Having escaped its master to revel as a stray, it wasn't ready to die, especially not to a human. It bolted, diving into the nearby woods. Trying to run, Roy scoffed. He wasn't about to let 10,000 dimensional points slip away. He pursued the stray devil into the woods. Think you can chase me? Dream on. The creature snarled. Its bulky frame, however, struggled in the dense forest, slowing its escape. Roy's physique, enhanced by demonic power, gave him superior speed and stamina, letting him keep pace. Damn it. If you want to die, I'll oblige. The stray devil halted, enraged, and charged at Roy. With a thought, Roy unleashed a torrent of flames. The flames swept through the forest, engulfing the stray devil in a raging inferno. Moments later, its massive body collapsed, charred and smoldering, the stench of burnt flesh spreading through the air. Congratulations, host. Random task completed. Reward: 10,000 dimensional points. Roy doused the surrounding flames to prevent a forest fire and quickly left the scene. The commotion was bound to draw attention, and he had no desire to stay. Chapter 15 Rias, Let's Hunt the Stray Devil. After defeating the stray devil, Roy bolted from the woods at top speed. No one should find me here, right? Roy panted, his heart pounding loudly in the quiet night. The rapid beat wasn't just from the intense sprint but also from the adrenaline of killing anything for the first time. The stray devil, though monstrous, retained human-like traits. Most people struggled to kill even chickens or ducks, let alone humanoid creatures. Even trained fighters often faced physical or psychological backlash after their first kill. Yet Roy felt nothing out of the ordinary. I guess I'm cut out for this life, Roy chuckled to himself. Far from feeling unease, he was slightly exhilarated. In a world teeming with danger, a quick adaptation was a blessing. To cover his tracks, Roy changed his route several times, ensuring no traces remained. Before stepping back onto the road, he glanced at the task rewards. Decent, but not great, he muttered. Compared to points earned by interacting with characters, the reward for slaying a stray devil paled in comparison. The former was far easier and more lucrative than this task. Shaking his head, Roy closed the system interface. All he wanted now was to return to Kuo Town, grab a hearty meal, recharge, and crash on. Hotel's plush bed. Night had fallen. No lights were on, instead, candles cast a retro glow, giving the room a gloomy ambiance. Straight out of a movie. All members of the Occult Research Club were gathered. Rias sat at her desk, engrossed in a document adorned with a magic red pattern. "President, is this a special mission?" Kaneko asked, perched on the sofa. She licked a popsicle with her usual blank expression, her senses picking as she glanced at Rias. "Yes," Rias replied. She looked up from the document to address Kaneko's question. "It seems a disobedient troublemaker has wandered into Kuo town." "A troublemaker?" Kaneko tilted her head, quickly grasping the implication. "A stray devil." "Exactly," Rias confirmed with a nod. "It fled its master and has been wreaking havoc in the human world. Apparently, it stumbled into my territory to evade pursuit." "President, is our mission tonight to hunt this stray devil?" Kiba asked. "That's right," Rias said. "We can't let such a thing run rampant in my Yuri's diction. It's a stain on our reputation. So, we'll need to put in some effort tonight, everyone. This stray might keep us busy until dawn," Rias added with a smile. "These summer vacation days have been nothing but client tasks. I'm getting rusty," Kaneko said, her eyes glinting with interest despite her stoic face. "Those clients are so fragile, they can't even handle a mild electric shock." "It's no fun," Akeno chimed in. "Akeno, tone it down. I've had plenty of complaints about you," Rias said, rubbing her forehead with a sigh. "But I get glowing reviews too, Rias," Akeno replied, her smile unshaken. "Even so, too many complaints could affect your evaluation," Rias pointed out, exasperated. "But fond. Oh, well, what can I do?" Akeno said lightly, still smiling. "Sometimes I just can't hold back." "Just try to be more careful," Rias sighed. Though her friend exuded Yamato Nadeshiko grace, her sadistic streak, paired with character, was a lethal combination. "Got it," Akeno agreed breezily. "By the way, Akeno, have you tried to track it down?" Rias asked, steering the conversation. Back to their mission. Akeno raised her hand, summoning a magic circle. A small familiar appeared, whispered something in her ear, and vanished back into the circle. "Sorry, Rias, no trace of it yet," Akeno said, stroking her familiar gently. "Really? Even you couldn't find it?" Rias's eyes sparked with intrigue rather than disappointment. "It must be skilled at hiding. No wonder it evaded its master and made it to my territory," Rias mused. Ordinary stray devils posed no challenge, but one this elusive piqued her interest, promising a chance to prove her strength to the underworld. Chapter 16 Kaneko, everyone, keep up with Shiro. "Ah, Rias, you seem awfully motivated," noticing the distinct, excited smile on Rias's face. Akeno covered her mouth and chuckled. "President, you're looking scary," Kaneko added. Her instincts, sharper than most, picked up on Rias's intensity. Even with her usual stoic demeanor, she couldn't resist commenting. "The stray in for a rough night," Kiba said with a smile. "Indeed," Rias replied. "I'll make sure it learns that becoming a stray, evading its master, and fleeing to Kuo town was a bad decision. It'll regret that choice." Her elegant smile carried unshakable confidence. She had no doubts about defeating the stray devil, and neither did Akeno, Kaneko, or Kiba. As the next head of the Grimoire clan, Rias's strength stood out among devils of her age. A stray devil was child's play for her, provided they could track it down. "It's almost time. Let's move, everyone," Rias said, glancing at the wall clock. She set down the document, rose from her desk, and walked to the center of the room. "Rias, do you have a lead?" Akeno asked. Her familiar had found no trace of the stray devil, suggesting they might need to scour a wide area tonight. "My familiar picked up some clues," Rias confirmed with a nod. Using communication magic, she'd learned from her familiar of several suspicious locations, potential hideouts for the stray devil. Akeno nodded slightly. Kaneko and Kiba joined Rias at the room's center. Rias used teleportation magic, and a circular pattern, about 2 meters wide, materialized beneath their feet, its intricate lines marking a spell exclusive to the Grimoire clan. Only its members and their retainers could use it. The spell glowed with dazzling light, enveloping the four. With a sudden flicker, the light vanished, and they were teleported from the ORC. No luck here either, Rias murmured, scanning the location, a long abandoned building. Peeling plaster exposed weathered walls, and the ground was littered with debris and dust. Exuding decay. At night, the occasional rustling sounds lent an eerie air. Her quick sweep of the first floor revealed only a few small animals and faint demonic traces. There's a hint of its presence, though. It was here recently, Kaneko said, her nose twitching. As she sniffed the air. Not a bad hiding spot, Akino remarked with a smile. Remote and rarely visited, it was a solid temporary refuge. Let's move to the next location. Rias wasn't worried about their failure. If anything, it fueled her desire to confront the stray devil that dared trespass in Kuo town. Akino chuckled softly. As Rias's bestie, she could read her mood with a glance. Despite their mental preparation for a long hunt, everyone had secretly hoped to find the stray devil on the first try. The miss stung, however slightly. Rias used teleportation magic again, whisking them to the next suspicious location. Unfortunately, their luck didn't improve. The stray devil was maddeningly elusive, having switched hiding spots 5 or 6 times in the mere 2 or 3 days since arriving here. They deduced it changed locations every few hours. It also explained why its master struggled to capture it. Without swift action upon spotting it, the stray would slip away. Any new suspicious locations? Rias asked, summoning her familiar after another fruitless search. No leads, huh? Rias said, stroking it gently as reassurance. That's fine. This stray's just exceptionally cunning. President, the scent here is stronger than at the other spots. It left recently, Kaneko reported. She sniffed the air again, then pointed. It went that way. There's still a faint trail on the path. Kaneko, lead the way, Rias said. Kaneko nodded and summoned her familiar, a white kitten named Shiro, as adorable as it was effective. Its sense of smell surpassed even Kaneko's, making it ideal for tracking. Shiro, you're up, Kaneko said, petting the kitten's head before setting it on the ground. Meow. Shiro let out a soft cry and darted off, following the scent. Everyone, keep up with Shiro, Kaneko called, running after her familiar. Rias, Akino, and Kiba followed, trailing the white kitten through the night. Everyone followed Shiro, and soon noticed the path was leading to a place devils instinctively avoided. Rias, this direction, Akino said, her tone turning serious. The church. Rias slowed her pace, gazing into the distance with a low voice. Having lived in Kuo town for years, Rias was familiar with its notable locations, including the abandoned church. Shiro, are you sure? Kaneko stopped, gently picking up the white kitten and asking softly. Meow meow meow. Shiro mewed indignantly, as if offended by the doubt. No mistake. Kaneko blinked, slightly surprised. In the open field, the stray devil's scent was faint, quickly dispersed by the breeze. Kaneko's senses, while sharp, couldn't pinpoint the trail from such scarce traces. She relied on Shiro's superior sense of smell. President, Shiro's on the right track. It's definitely this way. The church has been abandoned for years, Rias mused, chuckling as she analyzed the situation. No priests or exorcists have been there in ages. As a hiding spot, it's actually quite clever. There might be a surprise waiting, Rias added with a graceful smile, motioning for Shiro to continue leading. Soon, they reached the church's vicinity. Here, traces of the stray, Kiba said, pointing to the cement road. The holes corroded by the stray devil's acidic liquid were glaringly obvious, impossible to miss. Kiba crouched to inspect them. This happened recently, he noted, observing the fresh, dust-free corrosion marks. Rias scanned the area intently, her expression serious but silent. This way, Kaneko said, darting toward the nearby woods. I can sense its aura now, Akino said, her smile tinged with excitement. But something's off. It was so cautious before, yet here it's left such obvious tracks, Kiba remarked, staying vigilant as he scanned the surroundings while running. Unlike its previous hideouts, this felt too blatant, almost like a deliberate invitatio. End to follow. What's this? Rias murmured as a massive, charred corpse came into view. The body was blackened, scorched by flames or perhaps lightning. Oh my, Akino smiled, though her tone carried a dangerous edge. Who could have done this? They took down our prey, and judging by the damage, they're no weakling. Kiba examined the corpse and the surrounding area. It was burned to death with flame-based attack, he concluded. I can't pick up any other sense. Shiro, can you? Kaneko asked her familiar. Meow meow meow. Shiro chirped eagerly. Shiro's memorized the scent. If they show up again, Shiro will know, Kaneko said, patting the kitten's head as a reward. Good job, Shiro. Shiro purred, nuzzling Kaneko's palm contentedly. Shiro says there's also the scent of a male, Kaneko relayed. Even humans could distinguish gender by scent up close, and Shiro's keen nose made it effortless. Shiro circled the area but found no further leads. Roy had deliberately taken detours to throw off trackers, and human scents were faint and easily diluted in human-populated areas. With Roy avoiding any use of power during his escape, the trail was nearly non-existent. Rias stared at the stray devil's scorched corpse, her expression turning grave. Rias, you look troubled. What's wrong? Akino asked. It's nothing. The burns on this thing just remind me of someone I'd rather not think about. Rias said, shaking her head. Phoenix. Akino ventured, her tone heavy. The word alone darkened not only Rias's face but also Kaneko's and Kiba's. They all knew what the Phoenix clan meant to Rias, and how much she despised them. The residual flame aura is identical to the Phoenix clan's hellfire, but it's unlikely to be them, Rias said firmly. Knowing the Phoenix clan, they wouldn't sneak into Kuo town quietly. And they'd at least contact me first. Except for Riser Phoenix, no Phoenix clan member would visit Kuo town without reason. Even if they did, they'd stop by Kuo Academy first, as this was Grimoire clan territory. Rias knew Riser's flamboyant nature, he'd never act discreetly or leave without fanfare. Besides, the residual power doesn't match anyone, Rias added. She was familiar with the clan's members, and none fit the profile. Who could it be? Akino wondered, puzzled. The battle traces, scorched marks, burn wounds, and the lingering aura, mirrored the Phoenix clan's fighting style. I don't know, Rias admitted with a wry smile. This kind of flame should be exclusive to TH. Hellfire was a racial talent, like Rias's power of destruction, tied to bloodline. Outsiders shouldn't be able to wield it. Could it be some with Phoenix blood? Akino suggested, considering the possibility of a hybrid or illegitimate heir. Chapter 18 Lucky Day. The three factions' war in the Devil Civil War had caused immense upheaval among devils. In such chaos, it wasn't unthinkable for a clan's bloodline to be lost in the human world. Such cases had occurred before. I'm not sure, Rias admitted, her tone tinged with frustration. Everyone understood why. The marriage contract with the Phoenix clan was a heavy burden on Rias's heart. Rias, should we report this? Akino asked. A potential Phoenix was significant news, and informing the clan could earn their favor. Not yet, Rias replied. We don't know if this person is tied to the Phoenix clan. I'd rather avoid contact with them for now. If they're not involved, it'll just stir up trouble. Besides, this is an unknown individual in my territory. I haven't identified them yet. Why should I let the Phoenix clan meddle? Rias added, her voice laced with resentment toward the mysterious figure. This stranger had not only appeared in her domain without permission but also stolen her prey after a night-long hunt, and might even be linked to the Phoenix clan. Each point felt like a deliberate provocation, fueling Rias's ire. Rias, you noticed, Akino said, inspecting the stray devil's corpse and the surroundings with a smile. The way this was handled screams complete beginner. Exactly. They didn't even dispose of the corpse, just left it here, Kiba agreed. A monstrous remains, if found by humans, could make headlines by morning. Despite myths and the presence of mystical, the supernatural world remained hidden. Shielded from ordinary human awareness. Maybe they're just taunting me, Rias muttered, her resentment deepening. Akino gave a helpless smile, recognizing that Rias's mood was soured by the Phoenix connection. While Rias's theory wasn't impossible, it seemed unlikely. President, Shiro and I will track down this suspicious person, Kaneko promised. Thanks, Kaneko, Rias said, softening her restless mood with a smile. Since someone else dealt with the stray, let's call it a night. Rias raised her hand, and demonic power surged, enveloping the stray devil's corpse. Moments later, the massive remains dissolved into nothingness. After erasing the surrounding burn marks with demonic power, Rias used teleportation. Magic, returning to Ork. Roy was unaware that his handiwork had sparked a flurry of speculation among Rias and her peerage. At that moment, he was fast asleep on the plush hotel bed. The next morning, Roy woke refreshed, washed up, and sat down to enjoy the hotel's breakfast. Ring. His phone chimed with a message notification. Roy opened it to look at the home address of Issei. Yesterday, he'd not only arranged to find a house but also hired someone to locate Issei's address. With Issei's full name, school, and age, the search was swift. Let's check out Issei's house today, Roy decided, finishing the last bite of breakfast and wiping his lips. Issei was the protagonist. If Kiba was worth 50,000 dimensional points, Issei had to offer more, conservatively, over 100,000. After leaving the hotel, Roy took a taxi to the neighborhood near Issei's home. No one else around. Has Issei not been targeted yet? Roy wondered, posing as a casual passerby while observing the area. Issei's house looked unremarkable, with no signs of fallen angels or devils. Good news, Roy murmured. It meant fewer obstacles if he made a move, no sudden interruptions. Of course, his investigative skills might have missed hidden fallen angels or devils lurking nearby. To them, he was just a human. I'll scope things out first. If it comes to it, I'll find a way inside, Roy decided, choosing to linger outside. He wasn't certain if the area was under surveillance, and breaking in could complicate things. With plenty of time, he saw no need to rush. I'm heading out. A voice called. A boy in a t-shirt emerged from the house. Issei. Issei, take the extra money mom gave you and come straight back after shopping. No buying those dirty magazines again. Issei's mother's voice echoed from inside. Got it, mom, quit nagging. Issei replied, his face flushing. He glanced around nervously, relaxing only when he saw no one nearby. If anyone had overheard, he'd have died of embarrassment. Grumbling about his mother's lecture, Issei headed toward the nearest supermarket. Lucky day, Roy said with a smile. Issei leaving alone was exactly what he'd hoped for. Others get to tail cute, beautiful girls, but I'm stuck following a high school boy with a head full of perverted nonsense. Roy muttered to himself, eyeing Issei's figure from a distance. For caution's sake, Roy didn't approach Issei right after he left home. Instead, he opted for a casual encounter in the supermarket to avoid any potential surveillance by anyone lurking in the shadows. It might be overthinking, but better safe than sorry. The supermarket buzzed with activity, shoppers weaving through the aisles. As Issei browsed, Roy followed. Seizing a moment, Roy brushed past Issei, making it look accidental. Congratulations, host. You have obtained 500,000 dimensional points. Roy froze, then checked the system interface. The 5 zeros sent a surge of glee through him. 500,000. That was far beyond expectations. Yuto Kiba, a major supporting character, had just over 50,000 dimensional points. Roy had estimated Issei might offer triple that, around 150,000. But 500,000, nearly 10 times. This was an instant windfall. No more scrimping on dimensional points. He could replicate Kiba's kendo talent or a fallen angel's abilities without hesitation. But his elation crashed the next moment as he reviewed the replication costs for Issei. Full replication, 1 million dimensional points. Longinus, boosted gear, 1 million dimensional points. Roy fixated on the string of zeros. 1,000,000 points. His heart sank. Moments ago, he'd been thrilled with 500,000, but now. Good thing I never planned to replicate the boosted gear outright, Roy consoled himself. The richer he felt, the poorer he realized he was. What a brutal reality. Time to focus on the fallen angels, Roy decided, sticking to his original plan. Use the sacred gear stripping technique to forcibly take the boosted gear from Issei. It would cost far fewer dimensional points than replication. Regaining his composure, Roy kept his expression neutral, as if nothing had happened. He grabbed a few random items, paid, and left the supermarket. Issei, oblivious to the encounter, continued shopping for his mother's list. In the crowded supermarket, a slight brush was unremarkable. Roy headed to the shop he'd visited yesterday. After the church trip, he'd tasked them with procuring surveillance equipment. He'd initially wanted cameras to monitor the church, but installation was impractical without proper conditions. Returning to the church, Roy inspected it as usual. Like yesterday, there were no signs of fallen angels. They hadn't returned overnight. Where were they? Kuo Town was their stage, why weren't they here? Grumbling about the absent fallen angels, Roy set up listening devices instead. All set. Now I wait for them to show, he said, connecting the small cameras to the internet and his phone. After testing the signal, he confirmed clear reception from the church and left. The camera's batteries would last a month, letting Roy monitor the church remotely. If no fallen angels appeared, he'd swap the batteries and keep waiting. Kiba, you free? I want to thank you for yesterday's help with a meal, Roy texted Kiba after returning to the hotel. With 500,000 dimensional points from Issei, Roy could afford to splurge. Plus, Kiba had abilities that Roy coveted. Kuo Academy, Occult Research Club. The quiet room stood empty until a magic circle flared in the center. Rias appeared first, finding no one present. She settled gracefully on the sofa, legs crossed, her skirt just covering her thighs and revealing fair calves. Soon, Akano, Kaneko, and Kiba appeared from the teleportation circle. Any suspicious figures on your end? Rias asked. All clear here, Akano reported first. President, no suspicious people in my area, Kaneko replied. Kiba, any leads? Rias asked, pinning her hopes on Kiba. Sorry, I haven't spotted anyone suspicious, Kiba said, apologetic. I'm sorry, President. I'm useless, Kaneko added, her stoic facade masking guilt. She'd vowed to find the suspicious person, yet after a day's search, she'd found nothing. It's fine, Rias said with a reassuring smile. I haven't made progress either. Kuo Town is big, it's no surprise we haven't covered every corner in a single day. Exactly, Rias, Akano chimed in. If this person's still in Kuo Town, they'll slip up eventually. Ring. Kiba's phone pinged with a notification. He glanced at it, his expression shifting slightly. Kiba, what is it? Rias asked, noticing the change. It's the transfer student I met yesterday. He wants to treat me to dinner to thank me for showing him around, Kiba explained with a wry smile. Inviting you to dinner for such a small favor. He seems like someone worth knowing, Rias pondered slightly. Go ahead, Kiba. We're done here, and after a busy day, you deserve a break. Thank you, President, Kiba said, bidding farewell. He left Kuo Academy, heading to the restaurant Roy had suggested. Roy, isn't this place a bit pricey? An ordinary restaurant would have been fine, Kiba looked a bit embarrassed, as they arrived at the upscale restaurant. Having attended high school in Kuo Town for a year, Kiba knew the local scene. This restaurant's steep prices were far beyond a student's budget. As a reincarnated devil, his living expenses barely exceeded those of an ordinary teen. A meal here could leave him scraping by for weeks. I read online that this place has great food, so I picked it, Roy said with a nonchalant smile. His bank card held more money than he'd earned in his previous life combined, so cost was no concern. Kiba's reluctance was exactly what Roy had hoped for. It made his generosity seem more genuine. It's rare for me to treat someone, Roy added, sliding the menu toward Kiba with a playful grin. Next time, it's on you, so you'd better eat your fill now. I might start mooching off you regularly. Haha, alright, I won't hold back then, Kiba laughed. He ordered 2 signature dishes from the menu, then handed it back to Roy. Roy added 2 more dishes, enough for 2 teenage boys. As they waited, Roy steered the conversation, quickly building rapport with Kiba. By the way, Kiba, you seemed preoccupied earlier. Something troubling you? Roy asked casually. Is it that obvious? Kiba looked startled, nearly caught off guard. He hadn't expected Roy to pick up on his unease. I'm just good at reading people, Roy replied with a smile. I didn't peg you for that skill, Roy, Kiba said with a wry chuckle. It's just a club issue. We've hit a snag with something tricky, and it's got everyone stressed. He kept it vague, avoiding any mention of the incident. A club matter, huh? Roy nodded, feigning curiosity. If you're okay with it, you could share more. Maybe I can help. Better yet, introduce me to Rias and the others. That's a jackpot of dimensional points, Roy thought. Thanks for the offer, but our club's unique, Kiba shook his head. Only members can get involved in our activities. Outsiders aren't allowed. Sounds like a pretty exclusive club, Roy said, nodding knowingly. A devil's club, obviously. I'm just after your dimensional points. It's one of the more independent clubs at school. Seems interesting. Once I enroll at Kuo Academy, I'll swing by your club to check it out. Any chance you're recruiting? Roy asked, keeping his tone light. Sure, when you're enrolled, I'll introduce you to the members. You'll be surprised, Kiba smiled. But joining, that depends on the president. Not that we're actually recruiting, unless you're special, Yuto thought. Deal, Roy gave a faint smile. He had no intention of joining the occult research club or becoming a devil. All he wanted was the dimensional points. His plan was simpler: display a hint of extraordinary talent and strength after enrolling. Rias would likely come to him, drawn to his potential. An hour later, the two finished lunch, said their goodbyes, and parted ways. System: replicate Yuto Kiba's kendo talent, evil peace, night, and magic power. Conversion: consuming 10,000 dimensional points. Evil peace, night replicated successfully. Consuming 20,000 dimensional points. Magic power conversion replicated successfully. Use now. Consuming 100,000 dimensional points. Swordsmanship talent replicated successfully. Use now. Roy returned to the hotel to integrate the new abilities. Start with magic power conversion, Roy commanded. A surge of knowledge flooded his mind, and the entire demonic power he had converted into so-called mana or magic power. Next, he used the kendo talent. The integration added insights, fighting principles, moves, and instincts. Unlike the Hellfire replication, which granted immediate combat prowess, this felt more like learning. No feeling of swinging a weapon like a master, Roy mused. Compared to Hellfire, it's a little weak. Kiba's talent included his exceptional aptitude, unique insights, and commonly used techniques. But it's an experience, not a plug-and-play like the Hellfire. The host need to forge his own path. I get it. The replicated talent required training to unlock its full potential. Unlike Hellfire, kendo talent demanded practice to shape into Roy's own style. The solution: simple. Swing a sword, train, and fight. Over time, Roy would develop his own techniques, unshackled by Kiba's limits. Kiba had honed himself over a decade to reach his current level. With the replicated talent, Roy estimated he could match that in 5 or 6 weeks.